I identify as Korean. That's just my culture. That's my home country. That's exactly how I look now.
But people are very angry at Oli London. What's making you so mad, bro? Bigotry? Oli London is just as Korean as Caitlyn Jenner is a woman. Just as Korean. Big news coming out of Britain. I think groundbreaking news. A British influencer named Oli London is a non-binary person. They have identified as non-binary. But not only that, Oli London, because Oli London is a fan of apparently something called K-pop. I will admit that I was not informed on this particular trend. It is Korean pop. Oli London is a big fan of a particular Korean pop star named Park Ji-min, and decided to have $150,000 worth of plastic surgery in order to, quote unquote, look more Korean. And now Oli London identifies as trans Korean. Here's Oli London explaining his new identity.
Or anyone online as British, because I identify as Korean. That's just my culture. That's my home country. That's exactly how I look now. And I also identify as Jimin. That's my Korean name. But not only that, I know it's a little bit confusing for some people. Nobody's ever come out as Jimin or Korean, but this is something that you guys know if you've followed my journey for the last 8 years. I've really struggled with identity issues, with who I am.
Trans Koreans are Koreans. Let me put it again. Trans Koreans are Koreans. Okay? And if I say it over and over, it becomes true. Now, you're going to have to explain to me why Oli London is not a Korean. Really, and if you say things like, well, Oli London has never been Korean. Yes, but trans women are not women. I mean, not a single trans woman has ever been a woman. Not one. And if you say, well, Oli London doesn't even have any of the characteristics of being a Korean absent surgery, I will say to you, neither does a trans woman. And if you say to me that Oli London has never gone through the experience of actually being Korean, didn't grow up Korean, I'll say neither has a trans woman. There are zero distinctions, none, between being trans Korean and being a trans person of another sex. None. In fact, the only distinctions cut in favor of being transracial rather than transsexual. You can more easily shift your race, which is, in fact, a fluid concept, right? Race is a social construct, apparently. If race is a social construct, you should be able to fluidly shift between them, between the races, far more easily than sex, which is a biological concept deeply ingrained and rooted. So if you say trans women are women, and if you say that everybody's a bigot, if you refuse to acknowledge that trans women are women because they're not, then you need to tell me right now. Explain to me that if Oli London had a bunch of surgeries to appear like a woman or more like a woman, and then said, I am a woman, you would all be cheering the bravery. So brave, so wonderful, so non-stereotypical. So just, it's not playing on stereotypes. It's not reducing femininity to a bunch of surgeries and gender dysphoria. No. He would be a woman now. But if he identifies as Korean, absolutely not. Wrong. Can't do it. And so I say to you, during Pride Month, okay, it is Pride Month. Live your truth, Oli. Live your truth. Oli London is just as Korean as Caitlyn Jenner is a woman. Just as Korean as Caitlyn Jenner is a woman. Now you may say, well, Oli London is just a performance artist. That doesn't matter. You don't get to invade Oli London's truth. You don't get to tell Oli London what they are. By the way, Oli London has now declared their pronouns. Oli London's pronouns, it should be noted, are now they, them, core, en. I'm not kidding you. Those are the pronouns. And I've been told that there are many different types of pronouns by no less a source than the New York Times, that people have been using neo-pronouns. So there really is no problem here. And in fact, if you don't like this, you are a bigot. So apparently, Oli London then uploaded a flag of South Korea LGBT in Pride and said, yes, I identify as Korean. Yes, I'm non-binary. Yes, I look like Jimin. But none of this should be a reason to outcast me from society, to dehumanize me and shame me for being who I am, a non-binary Korean person. London's manager says that London, quote, felt strongly attached to Korea and the Korean culture and feels much more connected to this than his own culture. But people are very angry at Oli London. You bigots. I don't understand why you're mad. Why are you mad? What's making you so mad, bro? Bigotry? I sense bigotry. In fact, as Oli London, their self, now says, quote, how come all the woke mob will devote all their time to threatening and bullying me for being non-binary, but won't speak out against human rights abuses in China? How come woke are silent on China's concentration camps Clampdown on democracy in Hong Kong or oppression in Tibet? Not a terrible question, Oli London. Oli London also writes, I'm calling out the woke mob. These are the people that always preach about liberalism, tolerance, and respecting others, but are the same people sending me thousands of death threats, telling me to take my own life, and bullying me because they don't agree with who I am. Hypocrisy. And as Oli London tweets out, being transsexual is the same thing as being transracial because you are born in the wrong body. Live your truth, Oli London. Live your truth. Oli London is just as much a Korean as Oli London is a non-binary person. And anybody who denies this, just during Pride Month of all times to deny this, during Pride, you people, you bigots. I know what you're thinking. It's time to binge some more Ben Shapiro videos. Well, you are right. You should. But first, like and subscribe. Perfect. I'll see you in the next video.